Welcome to Just a Minute. Thank you. Hello, my name is Nicholas Parsons, and as the minute waltz fades away, once more it is my pleasure not only to welcome our many listeners throughout the world, but also the four diverse, talented, and dynamic personalities who this week are going to play Just a Minute. We welcome back one of the wittiest and most erudite players of our game, Hesketh-Harvey. We have one of our most outrageous and audacious and effervescent comedians, that is Jenny Eclair. We have another delightful stand-up comedian, that is Stephen Frost. And we also are so happy to welcome back one of the long-standing players of the game, the ever-popular Peter Jones. Would you please welcome all four of them? As usual, I'm going to ask them to speak on a subject that I will give them, and they will try and do that without hesitation, repetition, or deviating from the subject. Beside me sits Jane Gibson, who's going to help me keep the score. She'll hold the stopwatch, and she'll blow a whistle when the 60 seconds are up. And this particular edition of Just a Minute is coming from the Oxford Union, in the very heart of this great ancient seat of learning. And in front of us, we have a highly intelligent, vociferous, hyped-up, excited, intelligent, intellectual, undergraduate audience from this great university. And we're going to begin the show this week with Stephen Frost. Stephen, what an apt subject to start off with. It is Dreaming Spires. Tell us something about it in just a minute, starting now.
In 1976, I went to see a punk rock band called the Ramones, and supporting them were the Dreaming Spires. They were pretty good because they come on stage wearing different types of churches on their heads. And one of their best-known numbers was Rock the Aisles. And now, in this case, everybody in the audience would start jumping up and down, which was, in those days, was called the pogo. And when the Dreaming Spires left the stage, the audience left the auditorium. So that...
Jenny Eclair, you have challenged.
He said left twice.
He left twice, so that is repetition. Jenny, well listened. You get a point, of course, because that is a correct challenge. And you have 37 seconds to continue taking over the subject of Dreaming Spires, starting now.
Well, obviously, I have a massive chip on my shoulder because I never went to Oxford or Cambridge University. Still haven't done badly for a girl with no education and hardly any bosom to speak of. It is absolutely charming to be here.
And Stephen Frost, a challenge.
Well, deviation, it's Dreaming Spires, and she said she's got no bosom to speak of. I think they're just right, Jenny.
Stephen, I think from the audience a response to that particular remark of your shows, it was highly appreciated. So for that alone, we give you a point. But as Jenny...
You get 2 points with Jenny's.
But as Jenny wasn't technically deviating within just a minute, she gets a point for being interrupted and keeps the subject. And there are 24 seconds available still, Jenny. Dreaming Spires, starting now.
You see, I'm winning already. Who needs a degree? Dreaming Squires, that, on the other hand, are very posh old gentlemen that go to sleep after drinking lashings of port and have elaborate dreams concerning kitchen maids.
Hesketh-Harvey.
She stopped, I'm afraid.
She did, yes, which is hesitation.
She was in a great reverie,
yes, that's
but it was
right.
lovely.
I went into a coma, actually.
Kit, a correct challenge. 9 seconds available. Dreaming Spires, starting now.
Naturally, I prefer the Dreaming Spires of my own university, Cambridge.
Stephen Frost challenge.
Hesitation there.
Yeah,
He was nervous. He
that...
didn't want to say Cambridge in front of this lot.
So, Stephen, you got in. Another point to you, and you got 7 seconds. Dreaming Spires, starting now.
As I drove here on the A40, I saw the Dreaming Spires of Oxford gleaming in the sunlight as the car pulled up.
Oh.
Whoever is speaking when the whistle goes gains an extra point on this occasion with Stephen Frost, and he has naturally taken the lead at the end of that round. Then Jenny Eclair and Hesketh-Harvey, and then Peter Jones. And Peter, we'd like you to take the next round. In fact, we'd like to hear from you. And And, an apt subject. How much do you know about Svengali? But tell us something about it in just a minute, Peter, starting now.
Svengali was the creation of George du Maurier, who was the father of the actor Gerald and grandfather of the novelist Daphne. And the part was played on the London stage.
Oh, sorry, Jenny, it's a challenge. I do apologize.
He was deviating like mad. We were getting a sort of potted history of the du Maurier family.
That's
I thought
right.
we were talking about Svengali. I mean, I know that he was originally a character in a book called
It's all right,
Trilby.
darling. You need to show off your brilliant erudition here. No, he was deviating. He was onto the du Maurier family and not Svengali, though Svengali was created by Gerald du Maurier. 48 seconds available. Svengali, Jenny, starting now.
Yes, originally from the book Trilby by the author that Peter was chunnering on about. I'm not going to fall into the same trap as he did. Surely not, for damn sake. No.
So you fell into a different trap. And Kit got
She
in
fell
on
into
a...
hesitation.
Right, Kit, a point to you, and the subject of Svengali, 40 seconds, starting now.
The lovely family, the Garleys, live on a Norwegian fjord called Dagenham. Their daughters Ulrika, Gretja, and Ursula Andres were crowned by a lovely little son, Sven Gali, who was the apple of his parents' eye. He grew to be the greatest herring smelter this side of Trondheim, and he went out in his little Norwegian jacket and socks and caught... I've said Norwegian twice. Shall I interrupt myself?
Kit, you've actually challenged yourself.
Yes, I'm sorry.
And so I have to ask you, what was
I
your
wanted
challenge?
to spare myself from the challenge of repeating Norwegian.
Absolutely, you're perfectly
something
correct. So I
get
suppose if you
terribly,
challenge yourself, it isn't been very often done, and you have a correct challenge for repetition, you get a point for that. And so, yes, a correct challenge, Kit. Another point, 11 seconds still available. Svengali, can you keep going on it, starting now?
He spent his life looking for the fisherman's ring, which, as a lot of you will know, is the papal seal to which he attaches his briefs. And there was no ring to be found.
Jenny.
He not only hesitated, but he said ring twice.
He did indeed, yes. But I can't give you 2 points, Jenny. Just one's enough.
That's enough.
Right, that's enough. 1 point for correct challenge and 2 seconds, cleverly.
Oh, Svengali was an ace name for a son. If I had one, I'd call him Svengali Trevor.
So, Jenny Eclair was speaking as the whistle went then, got that extra point for doing so. She's now moved into the lead ahead of Stephen Frost and Kit Hesketh-Harvey, equal in second place. Kit, will you take the next subject? Yes, very topical, the Millennium Bug. Right, I don't know if you know anything about it, but we've heard a lot about it, read a lot about it. Tell us something about it in 60 seconds if you can, starting now.
I am sick to death of the Millennium Bug. Everyone's a bugger these days. They come up to one at parties and say, "What are you doing for the Millennium?" I couldn't care a jot. Just so long as I don't have to watch Peter Mandelson peel back the covers of his glistening dome.
Stephen Frost challenge.
He choked on Peter Mandelson.
He saw this highly political audience in front of him and he choked as he came up. Right. Stephen, a correct challenge, and there are 47 seconds available. The Millennium Bug, starting now.
I had a cold last week, and that was my 2000s illness. That was my Millennium Bug. But, of course, a lot of people are referring to the computer that's going to blow up. The computer in the sky, the one that's going to run...
Jenny.
He said computer twice.
I know he did say
I'm
that.
sure
Is
he didn't
repetition.
mean to, but he did.
No. So, Jenny, 38 seconds. The Millennium Bug, starting now.
If I've got this right, the Millennium Bug sends clocks backwards. I wouldn't mind catching it, because then I could be 19 again. Hurrah! Imagine that, all nubile and gorgeous once again. Apart from...
Kit, challenge.
She went into a reverie just thinking about it.
I know. Well, this subject that you don't want, you got back again. The 27 seconds on the Millennium Bug, starting now.
What rough beast, his hour come at last, slouches towards Bethlehem to be born, wrote W.B. Yeats. He was a great apocalyptic millennialist, turning in the
Stephen Frost,
widening
you've
gyre.
challenged. I'm sorry, I didn't hear any noise, but your light came on. You challenged.
A bit of deviation there. We're talking
Why?
because he's doing poetry and...
He believed in the millennium, you see, Yeats. He thought everything was going to fall apart.
I know that. Don't show me up in front of all these people. I know that.
He was also guilty of showing off a bit.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you're certainly right. Yes.
So he didn't... what is actually...
I'm going for deviation, because he's not mentioned... Or did you say
No,
millennium?
he talked about Yeats and his association with the Millennium.
I'm sorry, I wasn't listening.
That's why we love having you on the show.
I'm having enough trouble here keeping Peter quiet.
So, an incorrect challenge. Another point to you, Kit, and 16 seconds of Millennium Bug,
Mr. Parker.
starting now.
The aeroplanes are going to fall out of the sky.
Challenged again.
Doing anything?
I know there's no sound. Can we stop this for a minute? There's hardly any sound. Peter, you challenged, but I hardly heard you. I tell you what we're going to do. I've just got a word to the engineer, and he says a Millennium Bug has got into our buzzers, and so he's managed to upbeat the sound. So press again just to show us what we're going to get now. My goodness me. So from now on, team, that's the noise we're
Yeah,
getting.
but they've all left. They think it's fire drill.
So that particular Millennium Bug was cured very, very rapidly. I hope all the others will be. Peter, what was your challenge after all that?
Gosh, I can't.
Anything will do.
Yes, I was complaining about the equipment and the lack of...
So it was deviation from
It was
the normal
deviation
equipment.
and
that we've been
hesitation as well. I hesitated and deviated all at once.
Did you really?
using. So, Peter, you have a correct challenge.
Thank you.
And you have a point, which is fantastic. And you have 13 seconds to continue on the Millennium Bug, starting now.
Well, I was going to say that it's nothing to do with computers or anything. It is a bacteria, and it'll come from the starlings in the southern part of Japan. And they'll kill them all rather...
So Peter Jones, speaking of the whistle wind, got the extra point for doing so, and with the other points in that round, he has leapt forward, and he's still in fourth place. But Peter Jones, it's your turn to begin. The subject, Oxford Brogues. Will you tell us something about those in this game, starting now?
Well, I won't go on about them, but they are shoes that are worn usually in the country, and they're decorated with little holes.
Kit, you challenge.
Deviation is going on about them.
That's mean.
So an incorrect challenge, Peter.
Yes.
And you get a point for that, and you get 53 seconds, Oxford Brogues, starting now.
They're not really very fashionable at the moment, except in the outer limits of Oxfordshire.
Jenny, challenge.
Some hesitation.
Not some. None. I don't think so, no. 46 seconds. Oxford Brogues, Peter, with you, starting now.
Then a lot of Irish people who speak with a brogue in Oxford and elsewhere, wherever they go, they spread it. And it is quite appealing, really, because it's warm, friendly, and everything, usually, unless they're carrying...
Yes, Jenny, I would agree with you on that one. And you have Oxford Brogues and 30 seconds starting now.
I always say you can tell a lot about a man by his shoes. If he's not wearing any, he can't afford you. I also think a man that's got lace-ups is far superior.
Stephen Frost challenge.
Two men.
Yes, I know,
Yeah.
it's very difficult for Jenny. She does repeat man quite often. And, but that was a repetition within just a minute, 20 seconds available. Oxford Brogues with you, Stephen, starting now.
I had a pair of Oxford Brogues once. They were beautiful, light brown colour, 6 holes in each shoe where I put the lace and tied them up before I went out walking as they clipped along the pavement. Everyone would look at me and say...
Kids, you
Well,
challenge.
what then?
They couldn't remember what they said, but there was hesitation, 9
I
seconds.
thought I heard a
Kid.
buzz. I'm ever so sorry. I thought...
That's right. I don't know what you said then, but it sounded absolutely rubbish. The Oxford Brogues, with you, Kit. 9 seconds, starting now.
They come from the Highlands of Scotland. Why they were adopted by this ancient university, I cannot imagine, because they take an awful lot of polish. Perhaps they're a sign of privilege. So high maintenance are they.
So, Kit Hesketh-Harvey was speaking as the whistle went, gained that extra point for doing so. He's equal with Jenny Eclair in second place, just behind our leader, Stephen Frost. And Kit, it's your turn to begin. The subject, thinking out loud. Something that, I mean, people do in this show, but talk on the subject, starting now.
Thinking out loud, I can see that Nicholas Parsons' buttocks are particularly tightly clenched tonight. Whether it is because he is at this ancient university and is scared that his brideshead might become revisited, I do not know. But looks very fetching with it. Thinking out loud, I look around this ancient chamber, and I've said ancient twice. For God's sake, rescue me from it.
Jenny, you challenge.
Thinking out loud. See that bloke 4 rows back? He's cute, isn't he? Oops, done it again.
You are shameless, Mr.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I
yes.
can't concentrate,
Jenny, I haven't given you the
actually.
chance to start yet.
Oh, dear.
I mean, I know, I do have to say there are 38 seconds. Thinking out loud, starting now.
Can I say what I just said again?
Yes.
So he knows I'm serious.
Kit, you challenge.
Repetition of
And I'm sure Jenny doesn't mind losing the subject because she was worth it. She enjoyed it. 35 seconds available. Thinking out loud with you, Kit, starting now.
Thinking out loud, I should tell him, don't even go there, darling. It's a horrible place, and you will find yourself embarrassed in the morning, the absolute nadir of your existence. Be waking up with Jenny Eclair at the Randolph Hotel tomorrow. Beautiful you might be. Come back, Jenny, now.
Oh, Peter Jones' a challenge.
Repetition of Jenny.
Absolutely, I mean, there are some who say you can't have too much of Jenny, and certainly in just a minute we love having as much as possible of her. But Peter, it is repetition to repeat her name. So you got in there with 18 seconds available. Thinking out loud, starting now.
If I was sitting next to Jenny and I put my thoughts into words, I would probably be arrested. But thinking aloud is not something that should really be encouraged by anybody, I don't think, because it supplies...
Well, Peter, you did jolly well. None of points there, including one for speaking as whistle went. Jenny, what a lovely subject now. Very apt. Mayball. Can you tell us about a Mayball? Have you ever been to an Oxford Mayball?
Oh, are you asking me a question? Or can
I asked
start
a question,
round?
yes.
I have.
You
but
have.
know,
Tell us about it. 60 seconds, starting now.
I have never been to a Mayball without having to sing for my supper. As a stand-up comic and Perrier Award winner in 1995, I've been to many of these things. Do you know, it's so ghastly. They're very expensive, the tickets, and they employ people with guns and walkie-talkies to keep out the riffraff like me. I said to this bouncer, do you know who I am? No, came the resounding reply, and I had to get in via a hedge. And they're getting more and more over the top, these things.
Kit Hesketh-Harvey, challenge.
Repetition of more, I'm afraid.
Yes.
Yes, there was more, yes.
You're right,
Repetition, you were right, Kit. A point to you. And Mayball is with you. And 36 seconds, starting now.
I can sense that this audience is completely baffled, since in Oxford they're actually called commenballs. Mayballs are what we have in Cambridge. And
Stephen Frost, challenge.
Patronising.
So give Stephen a bonus point because we not enjoyed the challenge and so did the audience. But Kit wasn't actually technically deviating from the subject. So Kit, you have a point for being interrupted. You keep going. 29 seconds still available. Mayball starting now.
the tickets are terribly expensive, and you don't want Mayball. You want a partner who will ball definitely by the end of the evening because of the investment you put into it. They are very muddy affairs, from what I...
Stephen Frost, challenge.
Sorry, two very, very expensive and very much.
That's right. Serious, two very, right. Stephen, 18 seconds. Mayball starting now.
The last Mayball I did a gig at, the sign said free beer and comedy. So I was very upset because when we arrived on stage, all the students were drunk and throwing cans at us, which made them laugh, but not us. We walked off and made sure that we got home safely and never played that venue.
Kit, you challenge.
Narrowly averted being patronising there, I think.
All right. Kit, it was hesitation. We've got 1 second
Oh,
to
God.
go. On Mayball starting now.
Mabel was a lovely girl.
So, Kit Hesketh-Harvey, speaking as a whistleman, gained that extra point. He's now taken the lead at the end of that round, just ahead of Stephen Frost, Jenny Eclair, Peter Jones, that order. And Stephen, your turn to begin. And the subject is fishing for compliments. Do you ever do it? Tell us something about it. 60 seconds, starting now.
How was I, darling, is probably the most fished-for compliment in the world. The trouble with fishing for compliments is you don't get the answer that you require. Often you're told that you're not as good as you thought you were, which can be very embarrassing and can end a long...
Yes, Jenny.
He's
yes.
got depressed about his sex life.
Repetition or hesitation, the combination of the two. Right, Jenny, a point to you. Fishing for compliments, starting now.
Fishing for compliments is a girl thing. Oh, God, I'm so fat and I hate my hair. And then the bloke is meant to say, darling, you're a beauty of the first degree. How I adore your slender, cellulite free flanks. And as for your silken tresses, may I bury my head into them once again and remind you what a fantastic bird you are. See, blokes, what clutches you are. That's all you have to do to keep us happy. We're not very difficult people at all.
Peter Jones, your challenge.
Well, I didn't hear all that. I couldn't distinguish. I think there were one or two repetitions.
So what is your challenge, actually?
don't know, really.
You don't know.
What choices are there?
I'll give you the choice. I'll say the benefit of the doubt.
Yes.
That's a good choice, isn't it?
Yes,
So,
all right.
so it goes to you, Peter. Well done. 23 seconds, fishing for compliments, starting now.
It's not something I've ever done because I haven't really been able to collect enough bait to really provide somebody with the material on which to decide whether I was worth a compliment or not. A compliment can, of course, be a plug as well, if you're inclined that way.
Peter, you were going with such style that I was rather naughty. I let you go beyond the minute, and actually you went beyond it. That's why there was a pause. You looked at me and I blew the whistle myself on that occasion. But you get a point for speaking when the whistle should have been blown.
Yes.
And what's the situation? Oh, you're doing jolly well. I mean, you're now equal with Jenny Eclair, and she was leading a little while ago. And who's going to begin the next round? Let me have a look. It is Peter. It's your turn to begin. The one-way system. Talk on that subject, Peter, if you can. 60 seconds starting now.
Well, the only really surefire one-way system, I suppose, is gravity, because everything goes down, even if you're on the other side of the world. It appears to be doing so, though from our position here, it appears to be going up.
Stephen, you challenge.
Can't take any more. Two appears there. Two appears.
Appears to go down, appears to go up. Yes, repetition, Stephen. 42 seconds on gravity. No, not gravity, no, where? 42 seconds on the one-way system starting now.
The best way to go down a one-way system is to reverse, and no one complains at all, because that way you're going the other way that you should have gone, but not...
Peter Jones challenge.
Just very...
I know.
too rough and not distinct. Not up to BBC standard at all.
The one-way system starting now.
Me?
Yes, you.
Oh, I see. Well, I thought I'd done that.
No, it's still the same subject, Peter. You challenged. You challenged, Peter. It was a correct challenge. I gave you a point for a correct challenge.
Yes.
You weren't sure what your challenge was, but I gave you the benefit of the doubt again.
Well, thanks very much.
And said, right, you get a point for that.
You're
and now
right.
you take over the subject with the 27 seconds available still. And you start now when I say now.
Now. Well, if you go backwards up a one-way street, you're infringing the police regulations, and you're not really supposed to do that. And anyway, nobody is going to believe that you're really going forward if you're actually going backwards. I've noticed that people
Get his
who
challenge,
see-
Joe.
An awful
Yes.
lot of goings, weren't there?
You're going and backwards too. So, but you kept going for 40 seconds, Peter, but unfortunately not to the whistle. So, Kit.
40 seconds?
Yes, we did jolly well.
Well, I only had 27 to start.
Well, you see, I studied my mathematics at Glasgow University. Obviously, I was at the wrong university for maths. No, I'm sorry, my subtraction was wrong. Yes, it was only 20 seconds.
So what happens to me?
You keep quiet now because Kit has got a correct challenge, which was repetition of backwards and things like that. And so, Kit, you've got a point for correct challenge. And 10 seconds available, the one-way system starting now.
The terrible thing is that after this recording, we're going to go to a hostelry where Nicholas Parsons will toy with his oysters and then bat his eyelids at me and say, life isn't just a one-way system, you know. Would you not like snails as well?
What makes you think I'm going to bat my eyelids at you,
You've
Kit?
done it before. I've had to put a chair under the door handle at the hotel, I can tell you.
And Jenny, it is your turn to begin, so take the last round. Brown envelope. Oh, so many significances there, but talk about it. 60 seconds starting now.
Well, I'm not sure whether there's some weirdo sexual deviation, Nicholas. I'm rather worried. Brown envelopes. Do you know, in the olden days when men got paid their weekly wages, they'd bring it home in a brown envelope and the missus would take it off them. Oh, hurrah, it doesn't work that way anymore. I've tried. But...
It's a tough game, isn't it? Tried
so
and tried.
hard.
Stephen, you came in first.
Tried
So
and
46 seconds on brown envelope starting now.
Bad news comes in brown envelopes. I think they should change the colour of them so you're not taken by surprise. You think, it's a yellow one, I know what's coming, I accept it. Because brown, you always seem to know that that's the situation.
Jenny.
Well, he hesitated, he deviated, he just went on and on and got a bit dull.
You didn't rub it in, love. Really. He hesitated. 34 seconds for you, brown envelope, starting now.
The thing is, Stephen's wrong as well, because my bank used to send me bills in brown envelopes, and I never used to open them, so they started sending them in pink. I used to think, oh, Valentine's card.
Stephen Frost, challenge.
2 sendings.
2 sendings. So,
You're
Stephen,
welcome to the round.
28 seconds, back with you, brown envelope, starting now.
I found a brown envelope on my floor this morning inside my house. Of course it was there, not outside, otherwise you'd have to sack the postman. But he knew that if I saw what was inside, I would burst into tears. It was another brown envelope. A cruel trick played on me by this man who delivers mail to my door.
Stephen, Peter Jones, you challenge.
Repetition of door.
That's right. Yeah, there's too many doors there and other things. Right. Peter, you've got in with 7 seconds to go on brown envelope, starting now.
It can be full of crisp fivers, so long as you promise to ask the question in the House of Commons.
So Peter Jones, in speaking as the whistle went, gained that extra point for doing so, and he's moved forward into a very respectable position there. I now just give you, for those interested in points over the final score, Jenny Eclair was leading for quite a long time, and she gave incredible value, as she always does, but she did finish up only just in 4th place. Then Peter Jones came from nowhere, and he finished up just ahead of Jenny.
I came from London.
But as we were playing the game, you sort of came from nowhere in a point of points, yes.
You mean I got back into the game,
You
as
got
they
back
say.
into the game and you excelled.
Yes.
Kit Hesketh-Harvey, who always gives good value there, came, oh, this is very, very fair, isn't it? And Stephen Frost, who hasn't played the game quite so much, and Kit Hesketh-Harvey, only 2 points ahead, but between them they have an equal number, so we call them the winners this week. Yes. We do hope you have enjoyed this edition of Just a Minute. Only remains for me to thank Kit Hesketh-Harvey, Peter Jones, Stephen Frost and Jenny Eclair, and also Jane Gibson for helping keep the score and blowing her whistle so delicately and with such power, actually. It was very, very dramatic. And also our producer, Chris Neal, who produced and directs the show, and of course Ian Messiter, who created Just a Minute, and we still go on playing this game. And of course this particular undergraduate audience here, maybe there's some graduates in the audience as well, I don't know, at Oxford Union. It's been a joy to be with you, and maybe, who knows, we might come back again. Wouldn't that be lovely? Would you like to have us back again? All right. Until we get return here again, let me say to all of you and to our listeners at home and overseas, goodbye. This is Nicholas Parsons saying thank you for listening. Bye.